Yo, I'm building my own dream. All because y'all said I couldn't.
Two for the team, we getting off of the block. I see him aiming at me, tell him get off of my jock. I'm gon' black out, I'm gon' black out, I'm gon' black out. Give me my ish, I'm back now.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the How to Build Your Own Dreams podcast. This is our second take at part 2. Welcome to Building Your Own Dream, where you shoot your own podcast and sometimes stuff doesn't record. So we're going to rehash what we just discussed. We may drop a B-sides to this so you can get it the first time. But today, I'm Aaron. If you don't know who we are, Brandon and I own a company called Build Your Own Dreams. I'm the co-founder and president. This is my VP. And today we are doing our first ever 2-part interview. It's our first ever interview. B, break it down for the people. Why are we doing an interview and who are we here with?
So we want to start giving y'all an inside look into the community that we surround ourselves with, that inspire us, even from just us looking at them or from a mental perspective. If you tune into part 1, you can hear about some of the reasons why I was inspired by Eric and the Figure Out team. We just giving y'all an inside scoop, man, because building your own dreams, you can't do it by yourself. You need community. Definitely introduce yourselves. Tell me a little bit about what y'all do for the company, and we go from there.
Yep, my name is Edward Castillo. I'm a co-founder here at Figure It Out. I'll kind of run the company a little bit with the help of my guys, but I'll let them go on because you heard me talk last time.
Don't be humble.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up? I'm Daniel Jaimez. I am the production director of the company, trying to keep all things together and making sure that we stay in line and we are getting things rolling.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I go by Rick from Texas. I'm the creative director of Figure It Out. And I'm just out here just having big ideas, and these guys help me make them real, so.
Fire.
What up, everybody? I'm Eric. I'm the junior producer. I do a little bit of everything on the cool. I do, video. I give out my ideas sometimes. That's basically what I do. Just a little bit of everything.
I guess tell us a little bit how the team came together and how y'all kind of started.
So, on the last time I talked about when I had to leave, or not when I decided to leave the last company and what I wanted to do next. And I started getting these calls from companies who were like, Ed, come do this for me, because Texas was open, and I remember I was like, I'm going to take Greg Abbott's money finally. I'm going to take this unemployment check. I hadn't filed for anything. And I got my first unemployment check, and it was $200. And I was like, I ain't made that since I was 16. $200. I'm about to start answering these calls. Screw this. Got to go back to work. So I took 3 days off, and then I was back to work. And I realized quickly, I need insurance. And so I started this LLC, and I called Daniel. Me and Daniel had worked together forever already. He was online to be my next assistant, my very first assistant at Scoremore. I'd been training him to do as I do and kind of take my place over there so that I could go on to the next thing. So he rode with me probably in the car. And if you ride in my car, you'll know that I'm on the phone in the car. That's my
Facts.
Mobile office. But Daniel probably sat with me in the car for 300 hours. He would ride with me city to city, festival to festival. And at one point, I remember I was about to say something, and then he said what I would have said. And I was like, oh, young Jedi, you've learned. And that was kind of when I started asking, man, I need help. I need him to come along with me. That was December 2019, I think. Who could have known what the next couple months would have held? And so when I made that decision and I needed help again, I called him and I was like, hey, bro, we got this thing going on. You want to come? And he was like, I'm on the way. And we started meeting up every day, and we had met another local business owner, and he had opened his space to us, and he literally renovated a restroom into an office space. And so we were just excited to have a space, and we joked that we were in this restroom with no oxygen, working out of it. But we got a couple clients who started calling us, and we got a pretty big one. And then Rick, who had also worked with, so Rick and Daniel were my sister's friends. and they came to work for me eventually, like started doing different stuff. Rick called, and I was like, oh, Rick's always been super creative. So yeah, let's get Rick to do it. And Rick's backstory with me is that one day he came in the office and he was this like quiet kid who said funny stuff but wouldn't show up to the meetings, wouldn't do anything like everybody else would. And he came in, he's like, I got this idea, Ed. I'm gonna shoot a commercial for the San Antonio Music Festival, but I'm gonna shoot it at a clothing store here in Austin. And we were struggling to sell tickets at that time. So part of me was like, bro, that doesn't make sense. Get out of my office. And the other part of me was like, well, shit, if you sell 20 tickets, 20 more than we had, how much money do you need? And I felt like you said no money, or you asked me for like a VIP ticket or something.
No, it was so like I had just noticed at that time, like we were all in the street team selling tickets, and there's a lot of us. There's like tons of us. So like it was really hard to like vary who was like actually selling tickets, or because there's like scammers back then too. So
Right.
it was like a lot of people were like, it was making it hard because it's like, are you really selling tickets for this festival? But I had noticed like that was the issue, was like nobody really knew where to like who was selling what or who was official. But there's this really cool clothing store called Monkey's Vintage, and I always went there. Was super cool with them, and so I think I just asked you for some tickets for the staff to go, and I was like, this like I have this idea. We need more tickets to sell. Like there's tons of college kids who go to the store all the time. Like this is the place to do it, and they're cool, and there's like a respectable name, so like they don't got to worry about like a sketchy individual. Like this is a solid place, and it ended up just doing really well.
It's funny too, because like at that time I wasn't doing marketing for that last company. I'd done every job there, but I was doing something else. But like people would come to me, and then I kind of had this like little bit of sometimes I would ask for forgiveness later, and it'd be like, what you gonna tell me? And so Rick came to me, and I said yes to that idea. But then the marketing team was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why are we shooting a commercial? And I'm like, oh, I just gave them the tickets, trust me. And they got so pissed at me. But they're like, what is this commercial? It's like shot by these kids, and they're wearing a fur coat and all this crazy stuff. And that idea that I didn't really understand, and I'm not gonna say like didn't trust, I just didn't understand. I gave it to them because I was like, well, he believes in it and I don't understand it, so like go try it. And they became the top selling location and seller for that San Antonio Music Festival that was here in Austin. So like it was one of those learning lessons for me that like you don't, as the like person, as like the person in charge maybe, or like the OG or whatever you want to call yourself, you don't always understand what the next thing is, or like if that next generation is telling you they really believe in something, like sometimes you just gotta trust it. And like I'm like, okay, you love the idea, then we'll rock with it. And we still have those conversations where I'm like, I don't get what the hell you're talking about, but like we'll try it out, and if you're wrong, you're wrong, but like if you're right, let's go.
Yeah, I think that's part of building your dreams and figuring it out and just going after stuff. Like you gotta take risks. I think a lot of times people be scared to try new things, or like you gotta take risks. You don't know what might happen.
You're gonna fail either way.
Yeah.
Either you're gonna fail trying it and learn something, or you're not gonna try anything, and that's a failure.
Yeah.
And the failure when trying isn't a failure. It's just getting your reps up. Not trying is the only failure that I feel like you can really ever have in life. Is either stopping or not trying.
Stopping and not giving it. And so to touch back real quick, the three of us started working together, and then like I was like, all right, I named it Figured Out LLC, like it's kind of like in the background, and then I realized they both had like connections to it, and so we'd worked on it for like, and I'll let them tell that story in a second, but like we'd worked on the company for like 2 years already, and we started picking up clients, and we started just like, we were doing production for people back then. When we started, like there was nobody working. People in the industry were in LA and New York, and a lot of the people were still like, oh, I'm in the house, I can't go work, or I have travel restrictions. We're from Texas, so like we've been outside for a little bit longer, we didn't have any travel restrictions and all that stuff, so we were being sent to LA and New York to work the back end of these companies, and that's how we started. We'd go work for like major companies, we'd put on these events, we'd do crazy stuff. And one time we were working for an event, and they needed a DJ for their after party for their like suite level, C-level, executives or whatever. And they were like, we don't have a good DJ. And I called a friend. I'm like, hey, you got a DJ in LA? It's Super Bowl weekend too. He's like, I got ASAP Rocky. And I'm like, man, I only got X amount of dollars. I can't afford him.
Right.
He's like, well, book his homeboy and he'll come. And I'm like, bro, you're joking with me.
Whoa.
Right.
And it was crazy because all of a sudden I was on the phone with Rocky and he was like, I'm practicing DJing. And I was like, oh, this is real life.
Yo.
Yeah. And so, and it was him and ASAP Blue have a group together. They DJ together. And
That's
so we
fire.
booked them.
Jeez.
And so same day, like it was the day before, we're just there as production kind of people, but now we're booking talent and we're working on this and we're working on that. And that day it got crazier because they called and they were like, hey, she's coming. And you're like, who's coming? They're like, Rocky's not coming alone, which meant Brianna was coming.
You had that girl Riri in the spot.
Yeah.
I love Rihanna. Oh
So,
my gosh.
She's like an angel. Like,
Yeah,
when you
she's
see her
literally
in, like,
one of the
real-
nicest people.
in real person.
Wow,
like,
and I've heard that. I've heard she's really sweet. Wow.
And she has better security than like the president. Like her security is
Don't play.
straight up like ninjas. Like they showed up, like they thought there might be a threat, and this 6'2" like Russian looking dude came out of thin air, and I was like, oh, where did you even come from? And then he disappeared just as fast. It was wild.
Dang.
But after that party, we got them this like crazy celebrities. We got them all this stuff, and the person who hired us, like we were so excited for her because like we were like, yo, because of you got all this stuff, and because of you brought in these partners, you got all this stuff. And then the people who hired, like the higher up the chain, were like, oh, you made it unsafe by bringing in all those security guards with all those guns and this and this and that, and it took us a second to take a step back and say like, oh, we don't want to do that anymore. Like we brought you this crazy thing,
Right.
And you turned it into a negative thing.
You turned it into a negative. And so we took time, and it was scary because we started being offered all these jobs. We started like people started to hear about us as production partners, but we are all creative too in some way or another.
Yeah.
And we started to say like, man, I don't think I'm gonna do that anymore. And so we started turning stuff down. And as y'all know, when you're starting a business, every dollar counts, and every dollar is like 3 months away is payroll and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this point, Daniel had got an opportunity to go work with a partner agency, and we knew that it would advance us. We knew that him going to learn from those people would advance us eventually. So we kind of sent Daniel off to college, and it was me and Rick, and we had this conversation like, bro, what are we gonna do? Like, what do we want to do? And we have our office space and our media partner agency that we work with. And me and Rick just locked into a studio one day, and we just started deciding, like, we're going to come up with the shit that we like. We're going to come up with dumb shit.
Yeah.
Not dumb shit, but, like, stuff that we want to do, stuff that people want to see us do. And it doesn't matter. Like, we'll just put money into it, whatever we have, and we'll try it out.
Yeah.
And we'll go to our friends, and we'll start asking questions, and we'll start having fun. And it's crazy because I think those 3 months of us locking in and finding ourselves, it set up everything that we're doing now. It allowed us to like set ourselves apart from people, and that's when we met Eric, who introduced himself earlier, our junior producer, and we realized like, okay, we needed somebody young, we needed somebody who works hard, and we're like, okay, here's this young dude. And then eventually we realized like, oh, this kid is like super creative too, and Eric told me his story, and part of my whole thing is like, a lot of times you hear somebody come to you and they're like, oh, I got this degree and I went to these schools and I did X, Y, Z, and there's a little bit of sense of entitlement, like you owe me for allowing you to hire me. And I'm like, bro, are you gonna work hard and figure this out with me or not? Like,
Right.
yeah. Sometimes it's usually the person who doesn't have that who will do that with you and will like be able to see a vision further down the road. So when we met Eric, I didn't know this fool was super creative. I just knew he was a hard worker. And then like it started leaking out of him where he was like, oh, I'm a videographer. I make funny videos. So he started becoming our content creator. And he was like, oh, I like designing clothes and doing this. So we started pairing him up with more with Rick. And then now he started DJing. And part of our goal was to start a label. So it's like, oh, the vision is all coming together. Like we're, Rick's an artist too. And we'll have like a trained DJ by that point. So like,
That's dope.
It's cool to see him. He came up with a concept that we just sold to like a Fortune 500 company the other day. And
Congrats.
it was like his drawing that sold it. So it's cool to see like, okay, 7 months ago we saw maybe something that like somebody else didn't see, but like trying to push that in people, look where it got us, like a gig that we've been wanting forever. And if we would have been closed off and like not seen that in that person a while back,
right,
then we wouldn't have had it, like.
Yeah.
So it's cool to like build your own dreams and then help people build their own. But
Facts.
yeah, so that's us as a company from my perspective.
So you talked about Eric and how y'all just got a major contract based off of his drawing and how you're embracing his creativity and whatever, all those beautiful things. But Eric, I want to ask you, how'd you hear about Figure It Out? What made you want to pursue this, like getting in the mix with them? And then where did you find your confidence to be like, I know y'all doing y'all's thing, but I think I could add to it?
So working and Figure It Out has like taught me a lot of things, like a lot of my confidence and shit. Like I came out here and I was like really shy and like but like working with them has actually taught me like to be more open and like give up my ideas. And like I always like being creative, but like I never showed it. And now here that I'm working here, like, and then I show my creativity, and a lot of people really like that. A lot of people connect with me. Makes me want to keep doing it. It makes me want to grow more, like as a person as well. But I heard about Figure It Out like last 5 months ago. I heard of them. I always like going out. I always like lifestyle, and I saw them at a mala. They were like throwing a party. I think it was Javi's party or Ed's. I don't remember, but they were throwing a party and they were just like partying. And so then I hit up Ed on Instagram, and then I just told them like I wanted to work with them. What was it gonna take for me to work with them? And then I came by during the tailgates. I started grilling hot dogs. I started moving things around. And then
I'm gonna DM you and then I'm gonna show up and work.
And then like I like doing videos. So like I have another page where I do like car videos. So I told Ed, I was like, oh, like let me take over the Instagram. Let me see if I could like put some videos out there and like people start following us and we get more followers. And we started with like 400. We had 400 followers on Instagram. And within like 3 months, we had over like 1,500. And like our videos were going crazy. Like people were like sharing them, and so now I'm like now just keep updating the Instagram page. And
yo, let's talk about this for a split second, because I feel like a lot of times we get DMs. I get a lot of DMs to my personal page, and people are like, what'll it take to work with you? And I'm always like, I don't know, you tell me. Like, I'm moving. I got enough stuff on my plate. I know what I need, but if I have to tell you that, then sometimes you're trying to just fit into a mold. But what he did, he said, hey, what does it take? Then he showed up and was like, well, I'm going to solve this problem, this problem, this problem. And let that be a testament. If you want to work with somebody, go in and add some value. If you want to mentor, what type of value can you offer the person that you're asking to mentor you? It can't be a one-way street. If you want to work with a killer team, if you want to get on with somebody who you're like, oh, you could change my life, how can you change their life, And Eric, I hear the hunger. You're like, yeah, I like to go out. I want to be a part of this. I want to be creative. And you figured it out, and you were like, hey, y'all, I see y'all's Instagram. Let me just take that over. That's confidence right there. You might say you're growing in confidence right now, but for even to be like, I know I can grow your Instagram, that shows that you knew that you had something to offer the team. So that's super cool to hear.
One of the things that makes me happy is that, like, sometimes I'll hear things that, like, one day Daniel came to me. He's like, Eric has good ideas. He just doesn't like to talk. And I was like, yeah. And then he goes, start making him pick where we eat. And so, because we would go out to eat every day. It was a bad habit. And we'd be like, where are we going to eat today? And then one of us would pick. And then Eric would always be like, I'm down. And then he said, start making him pick where we eat. And so we would press him, hey, you pick. And we told Rick we were going to do it too. So we'd always support it. Like, oh, you want to go eat at this random-ass place? And at first he'd be like, I don't know. Like, let's go. And he'd pick places that he knew we liked. And then eventually he started saying stuff that we never heard of or whatever. And he'd be like, and it's funny because now we joke with him, like, his confidence level. Like the other day, another mutual friend of ours was saying something to him. Eric was like, "Man, shut up! Like, go back to spoke up and was like, talk." And even that guy was like, "Damn!" Like, and we work with the artist, a guy named Bo Bundy. One of the parts of our business is we manage a couple artists. And the other day, Bo called me. He's like, "It's funny, bro. Like, when I first met Eric, he didn't even say anything to me, and now he's like this fashion icon who won't stop talking."
Yo,
like,
okay. Yo, you got to stand up real quick and show them your pants. Just real quick, because you really are a fashion icon. All right, and then turn around so they can see them. Y'all, Eric made these pants himself. Like, this man is a full-on creative. Different.
Yeah. So, you gave me backstory, and maybe Daniel, you can kind of answer this. I picked up on pieces, but, like, what do y'all do? What is figure it out? I understand, but some people listening might not picked up on everything. But can you kind of break down pieces of what y'all do? Because you just mentioned management. I didn't even know y'all was into that. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, as kind of a tough question, I think for any of us to answer, because I feel like we all do a little bit of everything. You know, I think the biggest thing for us is that we've kind of never lost that motivation to go out and get whatever we can get. Like, you know, we're gonna put our hands on whatever we can put our hands on that's gonna make us money, you know, and make us feel good about what we're doing. So I feel like, you know, we do a little bit of everything. We do the artist management. We go out and bring other people's dreams to life, you know, throw some cool ass events. We got our own clothing line, like, you know, we're doing our own merch. I mean, yeah, the list goes on, and you know, I think all of us just hope to keep adding to it.
Right. Nah, that's fire. I think there's a lot of similarities between our agencies. Like we kind of in the same boat. Like we was in management, which we trying to get out of a little bit.
Not trying. We're out of it. We're out of there, y'all. We're out of it. We are out of there.
We started heavily on the music side, but then of course me and Aaron both got 10+ years in events. So we love doing that. We got the merch. So I don't know. There's a lot of similarities, but like, what does
and the change, yo?
Oh yeah. I seen the change. I peeped that joint.
We got that. We gotta try to, because we have a gold one too. That's the, you know, that's the
real one.
That's the expensive one.
Yeah.
I love how y'all's is like a 3D shape. I'm like, dang, our next chain, we gotta be really innovative. I wish we could have worn our gold ones so we all had the gold ones, but it's cool. It's like, that's how you know it's real. Like, I got it tatted on my fingers too, you know, but once you start investing in the jewelry, you know it's like,
it's real. It's real. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny, we did like a little chaining day and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Like, literally, our team was like, okay, so when are we? That's why we had to make these, because we had 12 people on the team at one point, and everybody was asking for a chain, and we had the gold ones. I'm like, y'all, we not doing that great right now. Nah. So we made these so everybody could get one. But yeah.
I called Daniel. I was like, hey, we're about to make an investment. I can't tell you what it is, but like, who's on the team for years? And he was like, he said the 4 names, and then he was like, okay, this is it. And then my little cousin works for us too, and he's like, he's the next one, so give him one too. And so when we got him, immediately everyone was like, where's mine? And it was like, chill, we're not there yet.
Right, no thanks.
It's coming though. It's
even
coming.
With me and him, because we went into the shop together to get them, and then they gave us the bill, and we looked at each other like, yo, are we this invested in the company? Like, we spending this type of bread, we not paying ourselves nothing, we spending this just to wear it. But it worked immediately, because people were like, oh, let me get one, oh, y'all legit, y'all got change. And it like, it elevated. I think because our mindset was elevated around it, it elevated everything. So I really rock with that.
There's another connection to the chain and you. Do you know that?
What?
You know who made it?
Scotty.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because we was in Scotty's shop when we made our gold ones. Yeah. We did it at the shop in Atlanta. He flew up there and we did the whole thing.
Yeah, Scotty came to South by and we met, and then I talked to him about it for a while. And he was like, help me out with this. I'll help you out with that. Like, we set up a whole little thing, and me and him became super cool, and we had worked together. Like, you know, you in the music industry, you start talking and you're like, oh yeah, I worked on that. You worked on that. Oh, he did this, did that. So there was a million connections there.
Yeah.
But
Scotty
we talked
ATL
about you
is
and
another
everything.
artist that we used to manage.
Yeah, we managed.
And we
it
worked
was
on
like
his
a 2 year,
business.
2 year
Yeah.
range.
Almost. Well, for me, 3. I think BYOD came on for 2 years, and
5, yeah.
we started out with music management, and then went into like business management and marketing. We started doing brand partnerships. That's the biggest brand partnership we ever did was with Scotty for Crown Royal.
Oh,
you remember that?
Thanks.
That was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was a crazy situation, a crazy activation. We got a lot of people fed off of that gig.
That's badass.
Fact.
That's the
Yeah.
best part of it when you could turn around and hire your homies on when you're like, oh, I know you're good at this. Oh, I know you're a
And
good
even people we
videographer.
didn't know, they were like, hey, we want to get this person. And we were like, again, for us, like, y'all, it's like, oh, they black? Okay, let's see if we can help them out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so then even they were like, well, let's get in touch. And I'm like, yo, they want to do this deal with you. Let me negotiate it for you. And they'd be like, oh, you want to do that? Well, I want this. I'm like, man, they're giving triple that. Let me just negotiate it for you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I always try to do that because sometimes I feel like being a minority creative, we kind of are always grateful for the opportunities, and so like we undercut ourselves a little bit.
Yep.
And I'll literally go to someone and I'm like, they're like, like I did this a couple weeks ago. They're like, yeah, I'll charge you $200 for this post, and I'm like, all right. And we hung up the call, and I was like, call me, and then they called and I said, write back and say you want 1,000. They were like, that's too much. I'm like, write back and say you want 1,000. And they're like, what the hell? And I'm like, just trust me, bro. Like, and they did, but it's because I knew the budget already.
Yeah,
like,
that's why I tell people, I'm like, don't even say nothing on the phone.
Yeah.
Because when they took I'm like, we'll tell them, we'll think about it, and we'll get back to them. I'm like, don't say nothing on the phone. And every time people are like, man, I was thinking 500, knowing good and well you've only ever made 100 off of it. So they thought they were big. I'm like, man, they're paying 5,000.
They're
And
paying
people be
5
like,
Gs.
what? I'm like, but I take a portion. I'm gonna negotiate that for you, and it blows people's minds. So that's like we're trying to do the same thing where we step in, because we made that mistake. Our first ever brand deal was with Reebok. I'm like, I think we should charge them $20K, and then Brandon and Matt were like, I think we should maybe charge them like $3 or $4K, and then we were like, well, let's do $5K. So we had like put it in this little calculator. It was for a 6-month campaign.
Oh shit.
So we were like, and right when I went to send the email, I was like, man, I'm asking for 10. And they hit back. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna give you 15." I'm like, "Damn!"
So they had 25.
They
Right.
probably,
You know what I'm
they
saying?
probably had 30. but
Yeah.
they had to get rid of some of the budget, so they even gave us more than we asked for.
Yeah.
So okay, from then on, I was like, whatever my highest number is, I'm gonna go up. We did that. I used that with Crown Royal. I was like, this is my highest number. I'm actually gonna go higher than that. And they were like, that's a little high for us. We were thinking like this, and they came down to a number that I had never even dreamed of.
Yeah.
So then by the time we finished negotiating the deal, we had almost doubled what I started with, because they were like, oh, well, can you get us some custom grills? Oh, well, can you do this for our team? Can we do, you know what I'm saying? And it led to so much stuff. By the time we finished the deal and I negotiated for all the other parties involved, it was double even what I was like, this is the biggest goal.
People don't realize like the business side of it is that like what we don't realize as creatives sometimes is that like you're just a line in a spreadsheet to somebody.
Yes.
So like you might be that number, but like their bottom number has to add up. So like if I could be line A, I'm the lights, but line B, I'm the security, and line C, I'm this. And I'm also like hired Eric to be the DJ and Rick to be the creative director, and now Daniel's hiring production, and the agency's doing XYZ. Well, now we're at 10 lines in the spreadsheet,
Yep.
Right,
and like
yeah.
we're not just negotiating in one place. Like we're getting 5 here, 7 there, whatever. And so like I think there's times in there where you're scared to be that number, and you're like scared, but you're scared to be more resourceful and be everything else too, just because like it's a little terrifying sometimes, but
Yeah,
it's out there for you to do.
for sure.
And like don't be
Especially
afraid
when you're good at it.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, with minorities, sometimes we feel like we're not getting the opportunities because we didn't go to school, or we're not as good as other people. But then when you get in the room, you're like, this shit is whack.
Yeah.
like, you know, like
Yo.
I tell people all the time, we're not phenomenal. It's not that we're such good event throwers. It's that we've been to so many bad events. We know what not to do. So now it's like we bring a little bit of creativity and some excellence to it. And now everybody's like, yo, y'all's events are crazy. And we're like, man, what? We did this on $200. Wait till you see this stuff when we have real
Yeah.
budgets.
Real
You know what
money.
I'm saying?
Sometimes people will tell me like that crazy number that I've never seen in my life is not enough, and I'm like, what? I've done less with nothing. Like
Yeah.
more with nothing. I mean, like it's crazy, but I don't know. Maybe that just comes from that's part of our lives too. Where we're like we're used to creating meals out of ramen noodles. Like,
Yeah, facts.
so I think
Meals for 5 people.
Yeah. So it's there. It's there for us to take on. Like, it's funny too. Sometimes like the minority thing, I got a lot of heat in the beginning because everyone around me that I went to advice for, not everyone, but like people I went to like mentorship or whatever. The first thing was like, oh, label yourself as a minority business, label yourself as a Latin business, label yourself as all these things. But I saw it differently because I was like, oh, like these agencies that aren't run by minorities, they come to you because you're labeled that in those 2 months. But I see
Yep.
myself as the best.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, being a Latin agency means I get paid in May and September, Cinco de Mayo and Latin Heritage Month or
Right.
Hispanic Heritage Month. And I was like, but I walk into these events and I think the same thing you thought is like, this is whack. I think Rick could create something different. Rick could create something better in 2 minutes.
Right.
Daniel could put a team together in 5 minutes and like we could do it for half the cost. And so I refused to do that, and people would be on my ass like, why haven't you labeled yourself a MBE? Why haven't you labeled yourself a minority business, whatever you call it? And then I'm like, man, because like I don't. If they want to hand me money in those 2 months, then just give me the money. Like, don't treat me like a charity case because
Yeah.
I'm brown.
Yep.
Don't hire me because I'm brown. I'm actually the best. My team is the best. I know we're the best. So like, hire us because we're the best first. And we happen to be those things. And if you want your room to look like us, like, don't worry about that. We ready to do that.
It's gonna happen
Yeah,
anyway.
That's the easiest part.
Right.
We do
Yeah.
that naturally. Like, if look around us, like it's not a requirement for us. It's just a part of our lives. Our lives look like this. And like, you go into our office now, and it's funny. Like, we're not the minority in our office. Like, there's 2 white guys. Like, it's funny just to look around out of the 10 of us. And I don't think that was done just by intention, but like it also was to it a little bit. Like, and it's interesting to like flip the minority thing on its head sometimes and be like, don't use that as my disability. Like,
Yeah.
it's my superpower.
Facts.
And it's just a part of me.
Mhm.
And like,
Come
don't
on,
take
man.
it from me. You know, like,
Yeah.
don't try to. Oh, because sometimes we'll get calls, bro, and it pisses me off sometimes because it's like, go find me this person that's XYZ, blah, 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 and they happen to be like this color. And you're like, well, damn, like a photographer who shoots on a video camera that is all those things, I don't know who they are. Like, they
Yeah.
might not exist, but like this person over here who's not all those things is the best. So
Yeah.
like, why not hire them? And then like, let's go find somebody and train them up and like find those people.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes I feel like they use it against you. Like,
For sure.
Yeah.
you're not all the things. And then they get mad when that person doesn't turn in the quality of work that they're looking for.
Yeah, because
And it's like,
they want a rainbow. They're like, we want all these things just so we can hit our cultural diversity quota, but they don't really care. But conversely, Rick, I think I'm the same. I'm like, when people were like, oh, like when I was first starting out, oh, you're the best female manager I've ever met. I'm like, that shit is disrespectful. Like, I'm great, period. I love that I'm a woman, but you're trying to, and then, we get the calls. They're like, oh, we need, like some black people who can do, and I'm like, if you call us 9 times out of 10, they're going to be black regardless. Cause it's like you said, we're the best, but we're surrounding ourselves with our people. So like, Rick, for you, how do you insert your cultural identity into the work that y'all are doing? Cause it's like, I think that matters to all of us. It's like representing our culture in the best way possible. For you, like, how do you insert that without making it like a tokenizing thing?
Honestly, it's just like me being myself, because like,
Yeah.
if I'm fitting into these like cultural boxes and checking these boxes, like, this is how I am and I'm still that. So like, I literally just look around at like my group of friends, the people I work with, and like look at the things that we do and that we like, because we're the same people that these companies are trying to reach.
True.
So it's
Facts.
I'm literally-
Speak on that.
I'm literally just being myself. Like,
Yeah.
here I am, like a Mexican guy, but like I dress like this. I listen to all kinds of different stuff, and like there's tons of people out there just like me. And so like, I just try to look around and do the stuff that we're doing, because just amplifying it, that's about it. Because
Yeah.
we are the culture, like we are
Facts.
the ones. So yeah, like for example, working with this really cool client. It's actually like one of our dream brands. This is actually the same client that Eric did the drawing for,
Dope.
that we all loved and everything like that.
But for that, it was kind of like this client came to us and was interested in doing like a music series, and like us going out and like meeting all these like DJs and these club owners, like we're literally submersed in it all the time. So like I just looked around and I was just like, this is what everybody's likes right now. Like this is all the stuff that you like and that you're wanting. And they were like, we want to do like a Latin influenced, like not like Latin themed or like, but we want to influence it. And I'm like, yo, like this is all the stuff we're already doing. Like I can package this for you. So like one of our really good friends, Joaquin, is like a super fire DJ. So it's like, oh, we gotta get Joaquin. Like you gotta get Joaquin. Like he's prominent in the culture. And
that man is everywhere.
Yeah, he's a perfect example. He does like Latin like music, but also Afro beats, and that's all the stuff that we like to listen to. Like it's the next wave. It's like up, and it's like, okay, like if you want to reach us, we got to get him. Yeah. And he'll bring out the people that you want to target.
Facts. That's fine.
It's kind of like just looking around and seeing what's like already there and like you're already using. Yeah. And just amplifying it.
Yeah, I think that's super important because I think a lot of people are like, how can I get the attention of these brands? How can I do whatever? And I think Brandon and I, the whole first year of our company, that's like, we were like, how can we get their attention? And we couldn't, so we just kept doing what we were doing. And then they started reaching out to us. Like, Reebok was the first, and then after that, Instagram reached out. And we were like, yo, is this real? And then we had, like, all these smaller companies that we had never heard of with budgets as well. So one of the companies after that, it was like they were paying us stupid money just to put up story posts because they liked how integrated our artists were into the culture. Like they could see that there was no disconnect. And I think that we took away from that, oh, we know what we're doing. We just got to stay consistent with that. So now it's like when we're pitching to brands or whatever, we walk in the door with something, we're like, hey, this is where we see that you guys are trying to go. We feel like we can help you hone your voice right here. Here's how we have an expertise in that area because we're living this and we're doing this, you know? And some of them are like, oh, no, we have somebody. I'm like, okay, cool. We just keep it moving. We don't take it personal anymore. But it's getting to the point now, we'll put people down on a list. Like we have a big event coming up in September in Atlanta. We have a list of people on the list, and it's the craziest thing. Those people keep reaching out to us. It's happened already. Like 2 of our main sponsors have reached out to us before I'm like, hey, I was planning on emailing y'all next week. I have a tailored pitch ready, but since y'all want to work with us, can we get on a phone call tomorrow? Like that, one of those just happened yesterday. And I'm like, yo, this is the actualization of the dream. But like you said, we weren't trying to be anything else. We were just like, we just got to stay consistent and be ourselves. So I think that's a super important, pertinent point. So yeah.
And I think that's why like we keep getting like the clients that we have, like it's not like it's just one and done thing. It's like they stick around with us because like they see like that we're authentic.
Yeah.
And that like we really do, like you said, like you know what you're talking about because you are those things also with these like clients that are reaching out to you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's the actualization and the manifestation of that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So we joke about it too because we'll write stuff down on a board and then it's like, oh shit, it's happening. Like everything we wrote down is happening. Like that's kind of crazy to think about.
For sure. And then in it, you're just like, oh, this is not happening. It's taking so long. But when you step back, you're like, yo, you know, like me and Brandon have been eating the pavement lately. Like it's been
literally
it's been rough. And then people are trying to kick our skull in on the block. Like it's rough. But when we look up, we're like, oh, we have so much weight in the game right now. It's attracting all these people who are trying to stop us, but we have so much weight in the game. You trying to stop us here, we got 15 other things going on over here, you know. So yeah, it's like the actualization, but also being able to see yourself there and then you're naturally moving towards it because you've put it out there, you know. So yeah, I think that's super dope. B, you got something else?
Yeah, I was just about to say, for the person watching this and they trying to figure it out, right? They trying to figure out their next steps or how can they make their dreams come true? I guess what advice or encouragement can you give that person?
I mean, nothing came from anybody who didn't try. You know, like I think ain't nothing to it but to do it. Like those are 2 just like common sayings, but you got to get up and you got to want it. The same way that Eric reached out to me, other people have too. And maybe I'm just like, I've been doing it so long, I'm a little jaded in the sense where like somebody tells me that, and then I expect you to do it. And you gave some really good game earlier. It's like people will come to you. I remember people still to this day come to me like, oh, I want to work with you. I want to be an artist manager. My question back every single time is like, do you like babysitting? I know. And I'm like, you'll hate being an artist manager.
That's why I said we out.
Yeah.
We out. I did it for 10 years. I'm not doing this joint no more. We out. Babysitting adults is not for me no more.
Yeah, and they do like a babysitting irrational children. Like that's artist management, and there's glory in it, and there's everything. But like, you gotta get up, and you gotta want it. You gotta be able to try it out. You gotta like not be afraid, and you gotta not like we. The hard part of this is that like you show your wins, and you show your wins all the time, because like who wants to talk about your L's? But like we take them too. Like we'll work on a project for 6 months, and then it goes away, and you're like,
no money.
No,
you spent all the labor on it. Come
all
on,
the
talk
time.
about it.
And like
you done paid the team, and the contract didn't come through, and the team still want to get their check, and you like, I'm not even taking a check.
Oh, you're like, man, that net 30 is now net 120, like a net 200, or you know, we'll work on a party and maybe never get paid, and you're just like, that's part of the game, right? Like, and it's, the L's are part of everything, but at the same time, like, the DJ had to get paid, the light vendor had to get paid,
running up your personal credit cards to bridge a loan,
security was paid, and then you're sitting here sending an invoice like, hey, bro, what's up? So like those are the L's you take. But like if we allowed that to stop us today, then like what about a year from now? Or if like we allowed the first time that happened to stop us, like we wouldn't be here with one of the first clients we ever wrote down. So I think you gotta,
that's fire.
You gotta be able to like, you gotta be able to realize that like we just don't know the future yet. And sometimes like the reason I got into managing artists, I never wanted to manage artists. But like I looked around and I was like, I seen this movie before. I seen it like when I was starting out in hip hop early. I'd seen the movie, and 3 years ago I saw it happening with regional Mexican music, and I was like,
oh yeah,
all the kids that are going to these shows, they're dressed like how the kids that would go to the rap shows back in the day.
Yep.
Like I'm watching that movie over again, and it's crazy because now like in the last 4 months that music's become #1 globally.
Yep.
And so like sometimes you gotta trust your intuition, and then you gotta be able to like be the hardest worker in the room, because you're not always gonna be the tallest, you're always not gonna be the fastest, you might not be the smartest, but like you could be the hardest working, and nobody could take that from you. So like if I see the younger people that are in the room around me, like they don't even realize that they motivate me every day, because like I see it as y'all coming for my neck, so I gotta come for yours. And so like we joke that like we bring the worst out in each other, because we yell at each other, we push each other, we fight, like we get into it. But at the end of it, you get this product and you're like, damn, that fool brought the best out of me. Like he pushed me to challenge me, to like want more from me. He didn't accept my mediocrity. Like he didn't take those things from me. And I know that somebody else would. So like, that's all I'm saying. Like, fucking go do it, dog. Like, don't give yourself no excuse. Don't give yourself no reason not to. Oh, nobody in my family ever has, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's no money. Like, a million other people have done it. And every time that I drive past like the mansions, like in Austin, our like rich neighborhood is like Westlake. Every time I drive past, I think there's at least 1,000 people who live in that street. Like, man, I could be one of 1,000. Like, what do they do that I don't?
Yeah.
You know, like that's my thought process. So that would be my game to them. Like, go figure this shit out. Like everybody else has. Like, we're not the only millionaires out there. There's trillions of dollars to be got. The money's already printed. We just got to go get it, and it's on us to do that, right? Like, but nobody else will do it for you. Nobody else is gonna. Brandon called me and said, "Come do this podcast." I said, "Bet when." Like nobody else. If he never asked me, I would have never came. So like, I would have never reached out. And I know y'all's podcast. I've supported. I'm one of y'all's downloaders. Like,
thank you.
Those are all the things. Like, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna call you and say, put me on the podcast. Like, you called me, said, let's do it. I said, okay, bet. And then I told B, like, I want my team involved too. And so I think that's for everybody. You want it, you got to go get it, and then you got to show that you're worth it. And then while you're there, make yourself irreplaceable. Like, we tried to grow that Instagram on our own for months. Eric showed up and doubled it, and it was like, oh yeah, you're irreplaceable all of a sudden. Like, I didn't even know I needed you. Like, bet, now you're here.
Let's just highlight that just for a split second. I think that's something that I really struggle with, is like bringing on eager people and then they get comfortable. Like, making yourself irreplaceable is so important. Once you get in, you're not in, you're just there right now. You gotta make yourself indispensable. My dad always said, make yourself an asset and not a liability when you walk in the room. So to me, an asset means it's always appreciating. So every time I went somewhere, I'm like, I have to I'm coming in guns blazing, and I'm going to consistently get better. When I leave, I got bazookas. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like if you come in somewhere, consistently grow. Like, make yourself indispensable. Make yourself the person that's irreplaceable.
Before we get out of here, just any last thoughts or any projects y'all working on, or just letting people know about Figure Out before we get out of here?
Yeah, like a closing on us. I think for us, letting the world know that we are a creative agency that isn't held into a box, that we work with artists, we work with brands. If they have an idea that they want brought to life, whether that's like, how can I pop up umbrellas at a music festival, or how can I put this through a cultural lens? How can I do those things? Like, we do that for you. And, like, we're out here. We're not afraid of anybody's budget. We're not afraid to, like, take a project on that maybe somebody else couldn't accomplish. Like, we're not afraid to work with the brand size. Like, I always joke that there's a Pepsi for a Coke, right? Like, we're not afraid to work with any brand on their size, unless the brand don't line up with us, because they're on some crazy stuff. But that's hardly ever. But we're really doing that, and that, we portray ourselves as guys having fun and doing all this stuff, but like, we're here working all day, and we don't take this lightly. We know that like everything that we build on now is the future. Like, our goal is to have 80 employees that look like us, sound like us. And looking like us doesn't mean brown men. Like, we want the room to look colorful. We want the room to be diverse. We want the room to look like my high school. Like, I want to show that next 18-year-old that, like, you don't have to be, unless you want to be, you don't have to go be a mechanic. You don't have to do these things. Like, you don't have to take these jobs that like the world tells you to take. If you think you can do this, you can do it. And we want to, everything we're doing now is to open up those doors for those people. So if you're a brand with some money, come holla at us.
Hey, holla at that Figure Out agency.
Okay, so we just had an incredible interview with y'all. I feel inspired. I feel like I've learned a lot. If you guys wanted to just share, each of you, if we could just go down the line, what is some encouragement to someone who is trying to build their own dream? Like, what is your advice right now in your age? And if y'all don't mind sharing your age, because I feel like that would help people. Like, I'm in my 30s, B is in his 30s. I think a lot of people think we're way younger than we are, but also they're like, well, I see what y'all are doing, it makes sense. But if you could share your age, what you're doing, and like how you can inspire people, or give some advice on like ways that people can be like, okay, I can get on the path to build my own dream.
I guess mine is well, I'm 22.
Y'all listen to this young gun here.
My advice that I would give is follow your dreams, and like follow what you like doing, and do not listen what society has to like tell you, or what society has to fucking like wants you to do. I remember when I was in high school, I always wanted to go to college, and like I had like this big dreams. And I remember one time I was talking to one of my really good friends in geometry. I was like, man, like I really want to do this. And then he's like, well, what's your plan B? And then I was like, well, I don't have a plan B. I was like, cause my plan A is gonna work. I was like, I'm gonna go to college for 4 years. I'm gonna get my degree. I'm gonna be an architect, and that's what I want. And now that I think about it, I was like, damn, I never had a plan B. I dropped out of college, and I never had an idea that I was gonna be here. And I'm here because I'm doing the things that I like, and I'm just following my dreams now. So
I like what you had to say just now, because I think a lot of times people will say they don't have a plan B, but then once plan A doesn't work out, they're just like
freaking
stuck.
out. Like people freak out, and like they don't know what to do. Or like me, I was like freaked out for a little bit. I was like, man, I'm working in construction. Like I don't want to do this. Like I'll wake up every day and be like, man, I don't want to do this. Like literally, like I don't want to go to work.
But you did something about it. I think that's really cool. I think about most of my homies, my relatives, whatever. It's like they're like, I'm gonna do this creative thing, or I'm gonna go do this thing, and then they can't figure it out,
right.
And they're stuck hating their life. And I'm like, yo, you could change it. So I think it's super cool that you figured it out, and you were like, I'm not gonna be here. I don't like this. I'm gonna do something different. Rick, what about you?
You can do like whatever you want to do. All you have to do is start. Like that's the hardest part. The scariest part is like taking your idea and making it like putting into action. And whatever you do, like, don't box yourself in. Like, just because you want to do one thing one day and then the next day you have an idea to do something else, it doesn't mean you can't do everything. It's just like whatever you want to focus on, put time and effort into it. And then if you want to try something else, like, apply everything that you learned from what you just did to what you're trying to do, because everything's a learning lesson.
I love that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me would be to, surround yourself with people who are, doing the things that you want to do. Put yourself in those rooms, find your team, because, although you can do a lot of things on your own out here, and you might start out on your own, eventually you're going to need somebody to help you build onto what you want to do. So I think finding your squad and being in the same rooms as people that are doing what you want to do is like a really big thing.
Yeah.
You got
another one? No. It's for them. You're the next generation.
Dang, that's hard. Now, I appreciate y'all, Daniel. I appreciate you as well, man, from the Scoremore days. You always looked out for us.
Sure.
Me and my family as well. So I definitely want to say thank you and appreciate you as well.
Thank y'all.
Yo, I got to tell a story about Daniel real quick.
You talking about the South by joint?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, see, like, y'all, I got to just tell you, these folks are super genuine. Me and B was walking down the street. This man crossed, like, hellish streets to, like, flag down Brandon to just say what's up. And I was like, yo, who was that? He was like, oh, yeah, he worked with Ed. He scored more. This was like maybe like I think it was like right after y'all had started figure it out. Yeah. So Brandon was like telling me about it. And I'm like, yo, he just came to say hi. He was like, yeah, he just a solid dude. And I remember that just stuck with me because it's like y'all really care about people. And it's not just something y'all say because it sounds good in a board meeting. Yeah. So I'm encouraged. And so every time I see you, I'm like, man, there go Daniel. Yeah. We don't even really know each other like that. I was just encouraged by that because it was, and you just chopped it up in the street with Brandon. Brandon introduced you to me, and a lot of times I tell Brandon this, like, men don't really, they're just like, oh, they don't care to like pay attention to me.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, what's up? Yeah, I heard about you. Ed told me about da-da-da-da. I'm like, dang, y'all are such solid humans. So I'm just encouraged by y'all. I think y'all are super dope. And I'm just excited to keep seeing y'all figure it out. I'm excited to see what we all eventually figure out what to do as companies together. And, yeah, I'm just excited to be in the community with y'all because y'all keep us inspired.
Facts. Again, where can they find you? Where people can tap in with y'all? Drop that real quick before we get out of here.
Figure it out agency on Instagram, and we're all on there too, so you'll see us pop up on the story and we'll get tagged and stuff. So if you want to like go to our personals too, but start off at our business account, you can see all the crazy stuff that we're doing. And we keep it. We
also have a TikTok.
Yeah,
we also have a TikTok and post like funny stuff there, like funny moments. We have just funny videos on there.
I gotta check it out.
Right. I'm following in right after this. Make sure y'all tap in, figure out agency. We are the How to Build Your Own Dreams podcast. Make sure y'all comment, like, subscribe, share it. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we see y'all next time.
Peace.